Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dewi Nurhasanah and I am from Class A, English Education Department. So in this video, I would like to explain about the nature of humans and its implication in Islamic education. So, human existence starts from a place of weakness and incapacity towards movement and strength. Humans were created on this earth with various goals, visions, missions, and several functions. Humans have their own natures, or maybe we can say as fitrah, and also humans have roles in this earth. Human nature is divided into several concepts. There are al-bashar concept, al-insan concept, Anas concept, and Bani Adam concept. So the first is concept of al-bashar or al-bashar concept. Human in this concept viewed from a biological approach. Human as biological beings are human consisting of material elements, so that they display a figure in the form of physical materials, namely in the form of raw body, or maybe we can say as cycle. Simply, humans do not have much different with others biological beings. Biological creatures here are about breeding, experiencing phases of growth and development to reach the level of maturity, and humans who need to eat and drink in accordance with halal and nutrition criteria. So, the second concept is al-insan or al-insan concept. Al-insan is formed from the root words nasia, and nishu, which means forgetting, from the word insu, which means happy, benign, harmonious, and there is also from the root word naus, which means movement or dynamism. Referring to the origins of the word of al-insans, we can understand that every human being basically has positive potentials in growing and developing psychically and mentally spiritually. In addition, humans are also given a number of other potentials which have the opportunity to push themselves towards negative and harmful actions, attitudes, and behaviors. Third concept is concept of annas. Humans in the concept of annas have a meaning to humans who are created as creators of society, which start with a male and a female pair and then develops into tribes and nations to get to know each other. Or we can say as something like interact with others. Last concept is the concept of Bani Adam. According to Al-Gharib al-Isfahani, Bani means descendants of flesh and blood who are born. This concept has several foundations that refer to the unique process of human occurrence, and many Quranic verses, data, and events support this idea. For example, when man was to be created by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to be the Caliph or the leader of this earth, how could the angels know that man would only make damage on earth, while the angel can only know what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tells them? Of course, because they had known the existence of humans on earth before Adam was created by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Therefore, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala always states that men or the children of Adam alayhi was created in his perfections. So the next is humans' roles and functions. Humans have roles and functions to live in this earth. So the first functions and roles is human as leader, or we can say human as Khalifah. The Quran doesn't see human as creatures created by chance or created from a collection of atoms, but rather they were created after being planned to serve as leader on this earth. Humans with all their positive power can have an influence on the face of this earth, as concluded by Muhammad Quraisy that Khalifah includes two meanings. First is a person who is given to follow. The first is a per, the first is a person who is given the power to manage a territory, whether large or limited, and the second is leader have the potentials to fulfill their duties but can also make mistakes and error. The roles of the leader is indeed very heavy. However, this status can show directions with the role of humans as roles on the earth based on Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala guidance. The roles of humans as leader on this earth is not merely an order from Allah to manage this universe without any directions and guidance from Him. But Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has equipped humans with potentials, knowledge, and the means to understand science. So the second role is human as Abdullah. As servants of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, humans are obligated to worship Allah in the sense of always submitting and obeying His commands in order to revere and recognize Him in accordance with the instructions has given. Humans as Abdullah can say by Mu'abbid. Mu'abbid are not only required solely in the contents of mandatory worship such as prayer, fasting, zakat, and so on, but also that all activities of good value in human life are carried out with the aim of approaching the creators or approaching from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. As mu'abbid, humans in this case are required to be able to reflect God's attributes into themselves and makes God's attribute more actual in various actions. So, human as Abdullah, apart from carry out the worship required by Allah and that recommended by Rasulullah SAW, which has good value in human life, both in direct contact with God and with fellow humans, these obligations and sunnah must also be actualized in various actions or behavior. So, the human nature and its implication for Islamic education. So, firstly, we have to know what the definitions of fitrah itself. The word fitrah comes from the verb or fi'il, fatoro, which means to make. Etymologically, fitrah means occurrence, nature, basic potential, purity. In the Munjid dictionary, it is found that fitrah means the nature that characterizes everything that exists at the time of creation. According to Professor Dr. Abdul Mujib, from Imam Al-Qurtubi defines fitrah when correlated with other sentence has many meanings. The first is fitrah can mean pure or author, and fitrah means the potential for Islam, and this means that fitrah means Islam, and then fitrah recognize the ones of Allah or Tawhid of Allah, and then fitrah means the condition of safety and continuity, and then fitrah means since, and then fitrah means feelings or ikhlas, as humans are born carrying good potentials. Then fitrah means the ability to accept the truth, and also fitrah means basic human potential or feeling for worship. And also Hasan Lagulung add that the meaning of fitrah is fitrah means the determinations or original destiny of humans regarding happiness or misery life, and also the means of man's original characters or dispositions. And lastly is fitrah means the attributes of God which are blown into humans before birth. So there are also types of fitrah. Is the first is fitrah agama or obligations fitrah, which humans from birth have religious instinct or recognize the existence of God as sincere. But when he was born, turns to al-Hanif, namely longing for the absolute truth of God. So the second is intelligent natures. Intellect is the innate human's potential to gain knowledge that can distinguish between good and bad. It is because of this power and nature that we can distinguish between humans and animals. The third is social fitrah, the tendency of humans to live in groups that have characteristics called cultures. Therefore, the task of education here is to make Islamic cultures the curriculum process of Islamic education at all level and stage. So the next is fitrah art or art natures is human ability to generate aesthetic power, which refers to the nature of all of al-Jamal, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The main roles of education is to provide a joyful, happy, and safe atmosphere in the teaching and learning process because education is an artistic process which requires the art of education. So the last types is fitrah progress or progression's nature is something like justice, independence, equality, wanting to be respected, marriage, love of country, and other necessities of life. So the next is the main potential that God has naturally granted to human. There are several main potential that God has given to human being by fitrah or nature. The first is hidayah al-ghariziyah or instinctive potentials, which namely the primary drive that serves to maintain the integrity and continuations of every human being. Among these urges are instinct for self-preservation, such as eating, drinking, adjusting the body to the environment, and so on. So the second is hidayah al-hasiyat or sensory potential is closely related to the opportunity for humans to recognize something outside of themselves through the sensory organs or sight, smell, hearing, taste, touch, and others. So the next is hidayah al-aqliyah or potential intellect is the potential of reason gives humans the ability to understand symbols, abstract things, analyze, compare, and make conclusions and can choose the right or wrong thing. Intellect can also encourage humans to create and innovate in creating culture and civilizations. The last is hidayah al-diniyah. In humans, there are already a religious, namely the urge to serve something higher, namely God who created the universe and its contents. So, how to develop the potentials in Islamic education? So, from Dr. Jalaluddin, there are 4 approaches that we can use to improve our potentials. Is the first one, philosophical approach. This approach refers to the nature of human creations itself, namely as a creatures of Allah. In the philosophy of Islam educations, divine values are values that contain the ultimate truth. Based on this, development of human potentials is directed to fulfill answer that refer to the problem concerning devotions to God. While the expressions of gratitude is described in the form of appreciation of the moral values contained and it's able to be implemented in attitude and behaviors, outwardly and inwardly. This kind of awareness arises from an internal impulse rather than an external influence. So the next is chronological approach. The chronological approach is an approach based on the process of development through stage. Humans are seen as evolutive creatures. It is realized that humans are not ready-made creatures, that is, after birth they immediately become adults. Humans are creatures that develop evolutionary, but not in the evolutionary sense of Darwin's theory that identifies humans as coming from the same genus as chimpanzees. In this case, it is humans from birth to adulthood, humans development through pre-educations. So the next approaches is functional approach. Every potential that God bestows on humans is certainly directed to be utilized. God as the creator is impossible to create something without purpose, so that it seems to hold something in vain. Everything he created has a purpose, including that related to the creations of human potentials, or maybe through a functional approach, it is intended that the development of humans' potential is seen in relation to the functions of each potential. Instinctive urges such as eating and drinking are developed with the aim that humans can maintain the continuations of humans' life. By using this approach, it is hoped that the direction of potential development in human will not be in vain, and its relation to the human function as serving or worshipping Allah faithfully and sincerely. The last approach is social approach. Humans in the concept of allness are more emphasized on their status as social beings. Based on this approach, humans are seen as creatures who have the urge to live in groups and societies. Through a social approach, students are nurtured and guided so that their potentials, namely as social beings, can be channeled and at the same time directed to positive values. So, what the task of educations in human nature, or what the educational role in maintaining human nature? According to Ab al-Rahman al-Bani quote by An-Nahwali, the role of Islamic education is to maintain the fitrah of students, develop and prepare all their potentials, direct the fitrah and potentials toward God's and perfections, and realize the program gradually. The development of human nature can be done by learning activities. Learning in question is not focused through school education alone, but can also be done outside of school, both in the family, community, and through existing social and religious institutions. So, from the whole explanation, I will make some conclusions that human in the Islamic perspective will still be born in a state of fitrah, which is pure, clean, free from all sins, and has a tendency to accept religions, faith, and tawhid. Humans become good or bad is due to education and environmental factors, not to their original natures. According to Ab al-Rahman al-Bani by An-Nahlawi, the roles of Islamic education is to maintain the fitrah of students, then develop and prepare all the potential process by directing the existing fitrah and potential toward goodness and perfections, and realizing a program more gradually. The development of human nature can be done with various learning activities, that is, through an institutions. The development of human nature can be done with learning activities. Learning is not focused on school education alone, so it can also be done with outside of school, both in the family, community, and through existing social and religious institutions. So that's all from me about the explanations from the nature of humans and its implication to Islamic education. And I'm so sorry for any mistakes and any misexplanations. Hopefully, we can learn so much about the fitrah of humans. And the last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.